Hello, everyone. Jackie Edwards here. I just wanted to take a minute to kind of let everybody get in, let you know that this is my first time using this software. So some of you will have seen a couple of different announcements pop up in the group saying that I was going live at 2 p.m. So sorry about that. I was just trying to figure out how to get everything scheduled and do this all. But I think I've got it so that you should be able to see me shortly. Hopefully you can see the video now. I'm just kind of checking back and forth between my screen and my mobile where I was going to try to watch everything. Let's just see if I come online. Well, we'll see if it gets started. I'm assuming there's just a little bit of a delay, but hopefully you'll see me in a second once everything gets going. Yep. I'm just going to look through all the comments. I've got a few people on. So if you can see and hear me, maybe you could just give me a little comment, a little wave, something, just so that I know that there's people out there and that this is working. Because otherwise, yeah, I might just be a little bit lost. Oh, there we go. I can see it on my mobile now. All right. Glad it's working. So sorry about this. We won't have to do this every single time. I should be a pro at this software after today. So yep, and I can see some other people. Hello. Awesome. We've got the comments coming. I know I'm there. So how it's going to work, we've just started with day one of our kind of 5-day challenge. The goal is to be able to get at least 20 leads over the next 5 days. Every day I'll show you a different strategy. And then you'll get that email every morning right around 7:30. That'll just kind of walk you step by step through what the steps are to kind of implement that strategy for the day. So you need to set aside at least 15 minutes a day just to kind of walk through those steps in your area. So I'll just pick a random area to use as an example. So I think in today's email, I used Luton as an example for our search, and we used Gumtree. So I used Luton, and we pulled up some properties. Then generally in the afternoon, I'll come on like this to do a live session, and we'll go step by step, and you can watch me do it on my computer live, and I'll answer any questions that you have as we go along. So what happens? So the example I did in your email, those I did previously so that I could put everything together. So in the example I do live, that'll be kind of like today's most recent information so that you can kind of log on your computer and follow along step by step there as well, just in case there's any differences. Because with Gumtree and Rightmove, sometimes they change their layout of their pages and stuff. So that's why we'll pop on live so you can see everything step by step just as it is. If you've got any questions, just pop them in. Now we're on the video, just pop them into the comment box. In the future, I will make sure I schedule these in advance so you can just pop any of your questions in for that day. If you can't join us live, or if you want to get your questions in ahead of time, just drop any of your questions into the Facebook feed for the live video schedule. And that way I'll make sure I address everything as we go through. If you're here live, you can just pop your questions in the comment box. How my awesome software works. I keep looking, my computer's down and over here. So I can see all of your comments in there, and I will be able to answer them, and we'll go through them step by step. So that's pretty much how it works. We had really great results last year when we went through this challenge, and some of you were probably there last year as well. But this is a great time of year to be kind of refreshing ourselves on how to generate lots of leads. And I know most people are super motivated in January. You know, we've come up with our plans. We've got all of our goals for the next 12 months. It's kind of like that fresh beginning time. So I want to help you make the most of that by, really honing in on lead generation, because that's pretty much one of the key areas you have to have in any kind of aspect of property investing. So I focus mainly on rent to rent, but the lead generation strategies we're using here, you can use those in pretty much any property strategy. So I talked about this a little bit on the live video I did last night, but with your goal setting and what you've kind of are hopefully planning for this year, it's really important to kind of break down your bigger like annual goals into smaller chunks. And if we look at that and work it backwards, you've usually got your annual goals. So say I want to get 5 rent-to-rent property here. Or maybe it's I need to get £5,000 profit per month. So then we'd kind of look at that and say, all right, so that's what you want to get to by December. So let's break that down. So we've got some targets to get to along the way, so we can measure ourselves and make sure we're going to reach that. So in a nutshell, you'd want to say, all right, well, if I need 5,000 by the end of the year, I need to be at about 2,500 by June, so by the middle of the year. And then if we want to break that down a little bit closer, so by March, so after the first 3 months of the year, maybe you need to have at least £1,000 per month income coming in. Looking at that might be, 1 rent-to-rent properties to profit per month. So if we say, all right, by the end of March, we need 2 rent-to-rent properties. So what do we need to do to get 2 rent-to-rent properties? We need to make offers. So we make loads and loads of offers. And then in order to make offers, we need to do viewings. In order to do viewings, we need to get leads. So it pretty much all starts with generating those leads. The more leads you generate, the more viewings you can do, the more offers you can make, and the more deals that you're going to get coming through. So that's why we're starting kind of our year's challenges with this lead generation challenge. So that's kind of a little bit of an introduction to why we're here this week and what we're really going to be focusing on. I'd really like it if in your questions you focus just on the strategies that we're covering for today. So in today's questions, if you could just focus on anything you've got related to Gumtree specifically, whether that's kind of defining your search area or whatever you're kind of worried about in your Gumtree strategy. If we really focus in on that for today, that'll be super helpful. And then as the week goes on, we'll kind of progress. So then we can cover questions on the other strategies. And then towards the end of the week, because we're not going to focus on anything other than the lead generation. But towards the end of the week, then we can kind of walk through and start converting over to, all right, now you've got all these leads, what do you do next? Because I know that's going to be the big question everybody has is, oh my goodness, how do I call these people? How do I approach them? What do I say to them? So we will start covering that at the end of the week. I'll give you some good resources and tips on how to move forward with the leads that we're generating. But for the week, we're just really going to focus in on just generating those leads. So you don't have to worry about doing anything with them, because I know that holds a lot of people back because they think, oh, I don't want to find the leads because I don't know what to say to people when I call them and I'm so worried about it. So don't worry about that right now. You don't have to. We're just generating the leads to see how many you can get and to show you kind of how easy it is just to start looking at those properties. And we're also not worrying about if this lead is going to be the best deal ever. So we're not going to do loads of research onto this property to see, is this our ideal rent to rent? Does it have the perfect floor plan? Is everything that we need there? I think a lot of people overanalyze their leads before they kind of even just set up the viewing and get out there and have a look at it. Now, of course, you want to make sure that there's some boxes that are ticked and that you understand a little bit about the property before you call and go and view it. But especially when you're just getting started, I think you should be getting out there and viewing as many properties as possible. So I would suggest that you're not eliminating anything from the strategies that we're looking at over the next week. So not taking any kind of potential deals off the table. So even if we look at something, and we'll go through a little bit when we look at Gumtree in a second, even if you look at something and you're like, oh, but it's already managed by an agency, or, oh, it looks like it's already an HMO, I won't call that one. Don't limit yourself like that, because there are landlords and there are agents that need your help no matter what the property is like. And just because what it says on, Gumtree, it might not be the whole situation. And by you just cutting it out before you even go there or before you even talk to anybody, you're really limiting down, the number of potential viewings and the number of potential deals. So I suggest you really keep your open mind and pretty much set up to kind of have a look at all of these properties. So I consider everything that we're finding over the next few days as a lead. Now, I will narrow that down a little bit, as you see in the example that we go through in a second. I will kind of break it down a little bit. So I won't just do a Gumtree search on Luton and say, all right, there's 20,000 properties. Those are all your leads, done. We're going to narrow it down based on your specific strategy. So today we're really going to look at HMOs. So HMOs is my main strategy. I also do service accommodation with my rent to rent. Everything that we do generally, I think, maybe barring one of the strategies, is it works for both service accommodation and for HMOs. So I will switch my examples that we do. So sometimes we'll focus on HMOs, sometimes we'll focus on service accommodation. So today we'll focus on looking at HMOs, but you can run this strategy and I'll show you how, and I'll just kind of explain how you could change it to be a service accommodation model. So with that being said, let me see if I can share my screen. So give me a second here. Hopefully you can see my screen now. It looks like it is popping up on my display, so that should be awesome. Now this is the Gumtree page. So I won't be able to see your comments. So if you pop any comments in there for a minute, I won't be able to see them. But I am just going to flip over my screen on my laptop, and we are going to run through this using Luton as an example again. So like I said in the email, Luton was the example I had done previously when we ran the challenge. Now we'll do an updated example. So I'm on my Gumtree homepage, and all I need to do, so you do your search box. So we're looking for property. So if I start typing property, it gives me a whole load of options. So we're looking for, because we're doing rent to rent, we're looking for property to rent. Oh, is that the, you'll have to give me a, yeah. And then in our postcode, so now in the location, if you've got a specific postcode or a partial postcode that you're working in, you could put that in here. If you've got just a city or a town that you're working in or an area, you can pop that in here. And Gumtree is really good because it also will give you results within kind of a 15-mile range. So I'll show you that in a second. But I'll type in Luton, pick Luton, Bedfordshire, and we'll say go. So you can see on our search results, we've got 514 ads for property and residential property to rent in Luton, Bedfordshire. So that's kind of our high-level results. There's 514 properties. Now, if you were happy to take any property under the sun, you've now just got 514 leads. But I would suggest from here that you do narrow it down just a little bit, because most of the time, especially if you're going to work with agents, you don't want to say, I'm happy to look at anything. Even if you are, you want to give them just a little bit of guidance, because if you're looking for anything, they're going to be like, I don't even know what that means. And then they're just going to kind of put you off to the side because it's just too hard for them. You want to make it easy as possible for that agent as you can. So what I recommend is you kind of pick your criteria. So again, today we're going to focus on HMOs. So if I scroll down, over here on the left-hand side, you can see lots of different filters that you can pick. So there's categories. You can pick a monthly price per week. Again, I would say we don't worry about that. You can pick a property type. So if you don't want to do flats, you can look at just houses. Maybe if you've got a bit of time, you could see what is in this other category. I don't know what else they might be renting out. I mean, maybe it's commercial property or garages or something. But here, I think, is where we want to focus. So you can narrow it down by the number of bedrooms. And this is probably the first easiest thing to narrow it down when you're working with anybody. So you'll want to kind of really figure out what does your target property have. Now we'll look at HMOs today. So I would say you're probably going to want to look at 3, 4, or 5 bedroom houses. With a 3-bedroom house, with my HMOs, we have just taken one on over Christmas. That's a 3-bedroom property. That's my very first, so that's my very smallest property. But because it's in such an awesome area and I was able to negotiate quite a good rent for the owner, it does work for me. But I would suggest generally for me, that small of a property, it's hard to get a good profit on because, you know, you have to have a bit for the owner, a bit for yourself. And there's generally not that much wiggle room in a smaller property. So normally my best properties or my normal properties tend to be 5 bedrooms. That tends to be the sweet spot for me. So if I was looking at this, I'd want to focus on the 4 and 5 bedroom properties. 4-bedroom houses, because maybe you've got a 4-bedroom one with 2 reception rooms, or I've got a few 4-bedroom properties that I'm able to put a couple into one of the rooms, and that helps me get my profit up there so that it works for me. And then 5-bedroom houses, again, that's my sweet spot. So that tends to be the best area to look at for HMOs. Now, I'll kind of narrow it down and we'll have a deeper look in a second, but I just want to break to the side and say, if you're looking at doing serviced accommodation, again, you can do this. So you can look, instead of focusing on, 4 or 5 bedroom houses, you can focus on studio and 1 bedrooms. So normally with your serviced accommodation, and some people might have a bigger service accommodation strategy. So it all depends what specifically you've done for your market research and what you want to rent out. But on an average, the normal serviced accommodation property is kind of a studio, 1 bedroom, maybe a 2 bedroom flat. So if you want to do service accommodation, you could look at these properties, and in that situation, you've got loads and loads and loads more leads. So that's how you do it for service accommodation. Now we'll back to our HMOs. So we'll look at 4 bedroom houses first. Actually, let's look at 5 bedroom because there's just not quite as many of them. So it'll be a little bit easier for our online demonstration. So we'll look at 5 bedroom houses. So I'll just click on that link and it will refresh the screen. And now it's just going to show me, I've got 13 ads for these properties to rent in Luton. So this is just our 5 bedroom. We've got it sorted by the most recent ones first. So I've got their sponsored links. So these are their most recently posted ones. So you can see we've got this lovely spacious 5 bedroom house available on the 1st of December. That was posted just 3 hours ago. So it's constantly being updated depending on what's happening in your area. But we've got ads, we've got a couple of them just posted within the last 3 hours. Now you can see here that these are posted by an agent. Again, that's completely okay. Definitely works to work with agents for rent to rent. I know a lot of people that's where they got pretty much all of their rent to rent deals is directly with agents. So don't let that hold you back if it's an agent or if it's a private seller. And if we scroll down, you can see one was posted 19 hours ago, 2 days ago. And if we want to have a quick look at the oldest one, so the oldest ad was posted 32 days ago. So again, 5 bedroom house available for rent. This one isn't an agent, so you can see it doesn't have agency on there. And there's also no photo. So one of the things I said in the email as well is that sometimes the older ads on there are a bit more motivated. So when I was going to follow up my leads, I'd probably start with some of those older ads, just because they might be feeling a little bit more desperate or motivated, as I'd like to call it. So we've got that one. We've got, all these other ones that we can have a look at. So for our lead tally, I'd say we've got 13 of these 5 bedroom houses. There were, I think, 31 4 bedroom houses. So that's what I would count as the leads that we've gotten for today from Luton. So 13 5 bedroom houses, 31 4 bedroom houses. So we've got 44 leads today just from having a look at this. So one of the other things I wanted to point out as we scroll through, so most of these, and this is going to depend on your area. So some other areas you might look through here and you'll be like, oh, it's just a room for rent. It's already an HMO, which we can see if we scroll down to this one. So this ad right here says luxury rooms available in Luton, different locations from 450. So this person is just advertising rooms available for rent. He probably picked a 5 bedroom house because this house here, as an example, has 5 bedrooms. So that's probably why it's come up under our search results. Now, a lot of people that might turn them off and be like, oh, that's not really a lead for my rent to rent business. It's already an HMO. I'll just cancel that one. I would say don't do that. Even though this is already managed by an agent, you don't know anything about that agent. Maybe that agency doesn't really want to manage HMOs, maybe especially not by the room. Most agencies don't really like to manage HMOs by the room. I would keep this on your list and still follow up with them and have a chat just to see what their situation is. If it's an agent, maybe they do HMOs, maybe they do it by the room. Maybe there's a way you can kind of build a relationship and work together in some other way. Maybe it's another rent-to-renter and you can kind of work together and leverage off of somebody else's experience and get a bit of experience on your own from them. So don't write it off. It could still turn into something. Keep it on your list for following up. And again, at the end of the week, I'll give you resources for kind of how to move forward with this. So don't write anything off. Don't spend hours and hours and hours looking into each of these ads, because I could click into it. Oh, and this one's a room as well. So I could click into here and being like, oh, there's that room. Oh, look at it. It's only just got the single bed. It doesn't look very big. Oh, that's not anything I would ever want to rent out. I'm not going to look at that one anymore. and then just kind of write it off. Maybe we look at this one and we'd be like, oh, a lovely, spacious 5-bedroom house available the 1st of December. And you have a look at it and you're like, oh, I don't like terraced houses. I don't want that one, and just write it off. Or maybe you could say, oh, it's only got 1 ensuite room. I want 3 ensuite rooms, and just write it off. But if you're getting that picky and that specific, especially in the beginning, that's when I see people really struggle with their business and they wonder why they can't get any deals. They're not doing any viewings. It's because they're limiting themselves too much. So if I read this ad here, Apex Properties is delighted to offer this lovely, spacious 5-bedroom house, sought-after area of Limbury. I don't really know Luton, so I don't know if that's any good. Property briefly consists of 5 bedrooms, 1 ensuite, family bathroom, large reception room, garage with a utility room, front and rear gardens, family-sized modern kitchen, close to train stations and stuff. So I would say, yeah, that sounds awesome. But in general, with all of these ads, and it had loads more pictures, you can see it's got 6 photos as well, I wouldn't spend that much time going in and analyzing every one of these before you've even kind of called and gone to do a viewing, or looking at the amount that they are for rent. Now, you should be able to do some high-level analysis on the numbers. If you don't quite know what to do, have a look at my books, Rent to Rent Your Questions Answered and the Getting Started Guide. They've got examples of how to go through and analyze your numbers, run your numbers, see what's going to be profitable for you or not. But at this early stage, I wouldn't focus on that, because even if this is way outside and maybe you can only afford to pay £500 a month, if you're just getting started, it doesn't hurt to go and have a look at this property, just so that you can get some experience doing viewings and having a look around. And you never know, you might go to this property and this one's with an agency. Maybe that agency has other properties that would be more suitable for you. So this is just kind of your step into the door. So if this property isn't absolutely perfect, still get in touch with that person, still see it as a lead, because you might make a relationship with that agent. That agent might have a property in a slightly different area or a slightly different price range that is perfect for you. So use this as kind of a way to open the door into, maybe this is a perfect property. Maybe it's slightly different than it shows on here and that rental work, or maybe it doesn't, but you build a great relationship with that agent. Or if it's a landlord, you build a great relationship with that landlord and they've got other properties that are more suitable for you. So again, don't write anything off. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people make, especially really early on. As you get more experienced, you can start eliminating properties so you don't have to go to everything. So for me now, I do know what works and what doesn't work. So if a landlord calls me, there are some that I tell no. No, I know that property is not going to work for us. Or if I look at it, or if I'm talking to the landlord and he calls and he says, I'm getting £3,000 a month rent right now, I know I can say, we'll never be able to pay you that much. It sounds like you're already doing really, really great. If you work with us, you would have to take a significant cut on your rent. If that doesn't work for you, let's not do a viewing. So I can kind of cut it off from there. But when I got started, I couldn't do that. I didn't know exactly what I could pay. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. So I went and I looked at absolutely everything. And of course, I looked silly from time to time. I didn't know what I was talking about. Lots of these properties, that owner was getting £3,000 a month and I could never get anywhere near that. So I was able to tell them, look, this property doesn't work for me because of X, Y, Z. Those make it so that I can only offer you £2,000 a month. And then the owner would either say, no, that doesn't work for me. I'm already getting $3,000 a month. Or he'd say, okay, well, maybe we can work on something here. Or maybe I've got this other property. So keep that in mind. Don't limit yourself in the beginning. Keep an open mind and work on getting the experience and getting the practice and building up your rapport and your relationships with agents and landlords. So that's pretty much it. If I just look at my notes. So the other thing I did want to point out is, so we're still looking at 5-bedroom houses. So you can see it's bolded here. That means that's what we're looking at. If we scroll down a little bit more over here on the left, we can see the seller type. So we can see that you can sort it by if it's been listed by an agent or if it's been listed privately. So if you know absolutely for sure that you don't want to work with agents and you will never speak to another agent for as long as you live and it's just not ever going to work, then you can just click private and it will just show you the ads that have been listed by private landlords. So you can see none of them say agency in the front. So it does limit us. So now we're only looking at 7 different properties instead of the full 13 that were available in 5-bedroom houses. But it is an option if you definitely don't want to work with agents. Again, I would say don't limit yourself in the beginning. Also, if we scroll down here, you can see that it also gives us, so we found 8 adverts 15 miles outside of your search area. So if you put in a search area, but you're happy to kind of look outside of that a little bit, then you can also kind of just scan through these ads. So again, we're quite narrow here. Let me look at just to open that up just a little bit more. So scrolling down, so 26 adverts in 15 miles. These are 5-bedroom houses. So that first ad, properties required. So that's probably not us. They're looking to manage people's properties. So maybe that's a rent-to-renter. 5-bedroom house in North Harrow. So maybe that's close enough to your Luton area that you'd be interested in looking in that, 22 miles away. Edgware in London, Hemel Hempstead, Hatfield. So if you're open to a bit wider area, and I know a lot of people in London tend to be, so if you're looking at a London area, don't be afraid to narrow down your search and just put, a specific postcode in there, because Gumtree will also show you a wider area. So you can still see those properties. You won't be limiting yourself. If you want to look in more than one area, you can do this search a couple of different times. So I could look in Luton, maybe I look separately in Edgware, maybe I look separately in Harrow, and kind of come up with a couple of different lists. I would say don't overstretch yourself too much, especially if you're just getting started. If you're a bit more experienced, then this is definitely a great way to start generating more leads, and you can kind of quickly and easily look in more areas. If you're just getting started, maybe focus on 1 or 2 areas just until you get really comfortable and confident with the process. But that's pretty much all there is to it. Let me see if I can switch back and turn off. There we go, my screen share. So now it's just me again. So yeah, that's pretty much that simple. So we've generated 44 leads just from that kind of quick and easy strategy of just getting on Gumtree, properties to rent, putting in our area, and then picking the amount of bedrooms we're looking for. So we looked at 4 and 5-bedroom houses for an HMO. You could look at 1 and 2-bedroom flats if you're looking at serviced accommodation. So that's pretty much what we're doing here today. So I just wanted to give it a second. I can see that there's definitely a delay from when I'm talking into what I actually see on my Facebook that I'm running on my mobile. So I'm just going to slow it down a little bit and open this up for any questions that we've got. So I'm going to also open up Facebook on my computer and just see if anybody posted questions separately in the Rent to Rent group. But if you've got questions, this is the time to pop them into the chat for any of you that are on here live. Any of you that watch this video after it's gone live, you can feel free to pop your questions into the chat too, and I will revisit later today, this evening, and tomorrow, and I can just type in any answers for you that you pop in. So again, if you weren't able to catch this live, pop in any of your questions, and I will keep an eye on it and come back and answer them. So let's see if anybody asked any questions. Nope. Just scrolling through. Nope. So I don't see any. So I know it's day 1. Everybody's just a little bit shy. You don't quite know what to expect. So I don't have any questions. I'm just going to ramble a little bit so I can see if the video catches up to me and if anybody has any questions on there. But otherwise, I'm really excited that you have joined me for this. I'm really excited to work together and to kind of build your rent-to-rent businesses and get those leads coming. Stay tuned for tomorrow. We're going to be going through another strategy. You'll get that email at 7:30. If you're not getting the emails, again, make sure you check your spam and your junk folder. But I will be, so in the last case scenario, I can't add you to the mailing list myself. There's too many kind of checks and balances set up, so I can't just add people to my mailing list and spam them. So if you're not getting the emails, I will post them into the Facebook group so that you can have a read through them. But you should be getting the emails about 7:30 every day. So keep an eye on those. I'll be posting when I'm going to go live so that you can see that. Post any questions that you have into the Facebook group, and I will answer them as we go along. If you've got questions specifically about Gumtree, pop them into the chat box here. And otherwise, I think that's pretty much it for today. I don't see any questions popping up. Oh, Joanna's asked a question. Will you cover negotiating down rent? I won't cover that specifically here because we're really focusing on lead generation, but at the end, so on day 5, I'll kind of cover a few next steps. It might be day 5. We might push into day 6 as well. So we might do a little bit on Saturday where I'll talk about what to do for next steps. So we'll talk about, what do you say when you need to call these people and how do you kind of work with them to get to the viewing. So we probably won't cover loads on negotiating. Will we be able to see these at a later date on YouTube? So all the videos will stay in this Facebook group for the rest of this week. I'll probably keep them on for next week and maybe the week after, maybe a full month. It depends how I sometimes forget about them. I won't be posting them on YouTube because these are just for people that join the challenge. So I do want to keep them there, but they will be in the Facebook group for at least the next kind of couple of weeks. So you can check them there. You'll have the emails and the files, so download the files so that you can go step by step through them from there. Are you put off by adverts with no photos? So really sorry about the delay on this as well, guys. So I know where I am in the video and now you're having to listen to me ramble, and then I'll finally get to answering the question. So that's just pretty much the way it is. So are you put off by adverts with no photos? I would say I'm not put off by it. Especially to me, that tells me that that person that's listing that property isn't very professional or knowledgeable about it. So if I was a tenant looking for a property to rent for myself, I would be put off by that property that has no photos on it. So to me, that means that landlord or that agent is likely not getting very many inquiries about his property. So to me, that's something I like to see. I like to see a property that's listed with no photos because that means I've got less competition, because less people are going to be emailing that landlord about it, because most people are put off by it. So for me, that's like, yay, this is an even better one because he's going to be more motivated, because he's not going to be getting loads of messages because people are like, I don't want to look at it. It doesn't have any photos. So that's definitely what I think about that. Deposits as a newbie, how to get around credit referencing. So again, we can cover that, Joanna, towards the end of the week. We'll do a little bit on what to think about there, because I know that can be a big stumbling block is, how do you move forward? But again, we really want to focus this week on just getting all of those leads coming in, because once you've got the leads, I tend to see people starting to feel more confident, once you know that there are deals out there, you don't have to worry about kind of chasing. And I'm not saying that you're doing this, or that's not even the question that you've just asked. But I see people kind of chasing like one particular deal because that's the only one that they've seen come through. Whereas if you've got lots of leads, you don't have to become the motivated renter. So you're not there worried about, oh my goodness, I've only found this one potential lead. I've got to chase it and beg this landlord to work with me, and I've got to meet all of their criteria. And this is where it sometimes comes around to referencing is, if you found an agent and maybe you found a property that you think will be pretty good, but they're really strict referencing criteria, or they want like 3 months rent in advance or something like that. If that's the only deal that you've come up with and the only lead you've come up with, then you're going to be really stressed out and really trying to figure out, how can I do this? And you might make a bad deal. You might negotiate poorly because you've become that motivated buyer. Whereas if you've got lots of leads in the pipeline, you're going to be able to find the motivated landlords and the motivated agents that you'll be able to negotiate and kind of work with them on different referencing criteria and how you can get a guarantor and how you can get into that property, because they're more motivated than you are, basically. So the more opportunities and the options that you have, the less stressed you're going to be about kind of missing out on one or two because that agent or that landlord wasn't motivated enough. So I want you to really focus on all of the opportunities that are available and say, feel that kind of, I just forgot the word, but feel that kind of it's bountiful. You don't have to chase every single tiny little potential lead and deal. There's lots and lots of them out there. So if one isn't perfect, or one landlord isn't motivated, or one agent doesn't really want to play ball, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to change everything you think in order to fit their criteria. So we probably won't cover loads and loads on that. Again, we're just focusing on getting those leads coming through. All right. Looks like there's no more questions. Everybody said cool and thank you. Again, if you've got questions, pop them in the chat. I won't keep rambling on because of the delay. Just remember that for tomorrow, that there is a bit of a delay. So if you've got questions, post them as soon as you've got the question, and then I'll see them and be able to talk about them as soon as I pick them up. So that being said, I am going to sign off for now. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to hearing your results. If you've had some success and if you've run this through in your area, post how many in the Facebook group, post how many leads that have kind of come up, post any questions you've got specifically related to Gumtree. And also, if not every strategy is going to work for every person in every area. So maybe there are no leads. I'm going to say Gumtree, it's unlikely that there's going to be nothing in Gumtree, but maybe there's very, very few, one or two, or maybe one of the later strategies we do doesn't work at all for you. Post about that as well. And it's nice to just open the conversation, because not every strategy works in every area. So some of these will work better than others, which is why we're looking at a whole array of them. So have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again tomorrow. Let's see if I can figure out how to end this. Thank you.